What is going on, everybody? Quancredible here. I hope everyone is having a great Labor Day today. I know for me personally, it's raining really hard, so not really much we're going to be doing over here on this side, but hopefully for you guys, it is going a little bit better. But on to the topic at hand for today. As you can see, this video is going to be about Yuno, or more specifically, Yuno's potential and how he can get stronger. Now, in the recent chapter of Black Clover 263, we see that Noct is going to turn Asta into the ultimate warrior to use against the devils. Now, we do know that like the main group is more or less extremely short on time, so they do not have a lot of time to train to get stronger. And recently, like a couple days in the story, like I want to say 1 or 2 days ago in the story, Yuno just fought Xenon and got completely obliterated, and even claims that they're much stronger than a brigade captain. To at least him, they are. So with that being said, for them to create this ultimate attack force to combat the devils, they're building it around Asta. And to me, obviously, if you're building a team around Asta, I feel like you would have to include Yuno, or even if we're going into the Spade Kingdom, Yuno is going to have to be there in some capacity. There's no way he's just going to be left behind in the Clover Kingdom. It wouldn't make sense considering he's from there. Like, Asta is his main rival. They work extremely well together. It's just all the signs point to him going as well. Now, whereas Asta is going to definitely be able to train with Noct to learn more about his devil and probably learn more about how to control that. That leaves Yuno kind of hanging out to dry a little bit, for lack of a better words. He doesn't necessarily have a mentor. We never really got to see him get one. Like, we got Asta had Fanzel, Yami to a capacity, and you could even call Licht kind of a mentor in a way, just because he kind of gave Asta the idea that, oh, I can use my swords in other ways a little bit when they were like fighting together against Zagrid. But Yuno really didn't have anything like that. We never really got to see any scenes of him with William or anything training, or him possibly picking up anything from Vice Captain Langris, or even any other random characters for that matter at all. So, like, I definitely want to kind of discuss, or at least give some of my theories here about what Yuno's potential power-ups could be for the story and the approaching arc. Now, one big thing about Yuno is he's a very interesting character for Tabata, in my opinion, because Asta is, for any of you who don't know, is kind of based off of himself. Like, Asta is very similar to how Tabata envisions himself to be, which is like the embodiment of hard work. And we see that throughout the story. Asta has to work extremely hard for everything he gets, and the only reason he is where he is because he worked hard enough to be there. Now, not to downplay any of the hard work that Yuno has done, but Yuno is kind of a direct opposite to Asta in that sense, whereas Yuno has always been extremely talented. Even before he got his grimoire, he was praised as having really, amazing magic for just being a peasant. He was blessed with the 4-leaf, which has a ton of luck in it. He got a wind spirit, was able to go to the best squad. Like, Yuno's, like, a running theme is, whereas Asta meets adversity everywhere he goes and has to work hard, Yuno meets, he does meet adversity too. I'm not going to act like he didn't have it hard as well, considering they grew up in the same place. However, Yuno has been extremely lucky. He's even a spade royal. Like, there's so much luck on this guy's side. It is a reoccurring theme for him. Also, to go along with that would be talent. A big thing to bring up is the contrast between how Asta has no magic and is talentless, whereas Yuno has always been extremely gifted and talented. Now, with this, we can kind of use these to look into what potentially the future for Yuno's power could be. Now, the thing that I dislike a lot is there's probably going to be a power creep for Yuno, in my opinion, just because there's not a lot of time to really train. So unless they do some weird glamour world hyperbolic time chamber training, or they find another way to do it, there's not a lot of time to, like, for at least to me in the story, for him to learn a technique that would immediately boost him up to many times stronger than he was just a few days ago. Now, one thing that I would like to see myself, as well as I know a lot of other people, a very popular theory, would be Yuno training with the Elves. Now, we do know that all the Golden Dawn members were able to maintain or keep inside some of the elven mana that was inside of them while their bodies was possessed, and I believe Yuno would definitely be no different. If not, he might even be in a better case than everybody else, considering his reincarnation was literally different from everyone else's. So he could possibly have more elven mana in him than other people, and it would just be a matter of him realizing how to use that in a fight and then that would be able to, like, make him able to stay on Asta's level, because Yuno was many times stronger when he had the Elven boost. As we've seen, regular fodder characters became extremely powerful just with an Elven boost. Like, fodder characters deserve captain level attention with the Elven boost. So I mean, it is a significant power up if he's able to learn how to use this, and then he could easily do this by trying to figure out where the elves are, or maybe Partry comes down because he knows that William is captured or something. I do feel like Partry and William probably share some type of connection, so it's not too far-fetched to think that Partry would know of William's capture, or at least be willing to help aid in getting William back, or at the bare minimum helping Yuno train to be able to get William back. And even if all that, Yuno was important to Lich, I mean, and the elves love Lich. Like, he is their god essentially. So there's no reason for all of them to not want to help Yuno, and by all of them I do just mean like the four of them, at least the four of them that we know about. So I like, that's where my money is, on some type of elven help. I know a lot of other people, like a less popular theory, but still one that I see, is the whole god or angel boost power up for Yuno, because as we can all see, Yuno's spirit dive does very much resemble some type of god, goddess, or angelish form, as a contrast to Asta's demon form. And in most works of fiction, if there are demons and devils, you can pretty much assume there's going to be gods and angels in there as well. I mean, we haven't got solid confirmation, but it has been brought up with the elves before, and even Noct to mention a god or gods in this previous chapter. So it's not too far-fetched to think that those do exist in the world of Black Clover. Now, my only thing with this is, it would be really interesting, like, if it was a future thing, like, say Yuno realizes that he's connected to this race the same way how Asta is somewhat connected to the devils. Like, Yuno could be somewhat connected to gods or angels, and then they could come down and maybe give him a boost, or maybe even Belle, his spirit has some type of connection to them just innately, and through her he's able to gain some type of power up that, like, in that way. But it's just, it would be so random in this moment. Like, granted, you could say Noct popping up is random, but at the same time it isn't, because it is very important to the story, and he has a connection to the cast and all that. So it doesn't make it as random as it may innately seem, versus the skies just opening up and a supreme being coming down and blessing Yuno with more power. That would just be crazy. That would just be legit crazy. Like, it'd be hype, but it just wouldn't make any sense from, like, a story continuity standpoint. Now, there's a third way. Like a third potential way that Yuno could get more powerful, and this is just through Yuno's innate talent. Like I said before, Yuno is an extremely talented individual. That has been remarked by several characters, have called him talented the entire series. Yuno picks up on things extremely fast. Like, he was able to realize how to use Belle to an extent during his fight with Catherine. He was able to grasp Mana Skin extremely quickly, even so far as to incorporate Mana Skin with Belle to make a new transformation. He was able to basically realize Mana Zone before he even turned into a elf, and even was able to, like, form the Sword of Zephyr just with the remnants of magic around in the Shadow House. So, like, Yuno is very talented in his own right. He can figure things out on the spot and get exponentially more powerful in just a short amount of time, as we've seen him do many times in the past. So it could be that Yuno may already be on the, like, precipice of something. Like, he might actually be on the verge of something big, but just needs, like, a couple more dedicated days of training to figure it out, such as a new technique with Belle, or a deeper spirit dive. We could always see that, like, him possibly even get more merged with Belle. Like, we've seen Asta go berserk, and, like, the anti-magic takes over more of his body, but we haven't seen anything like that with Yuno. We could do it like a deeper spirit dive, because if you remember, when he was a elf, the spirit dive, like, was legit half of his body. Like, it definitely took up more of the half than when he's, like, how he is now. It seems like it only takes up his, like, the upper half of his body, not necessarily his legs or anything like, or his back or anything along those lines. So we could possibly see a deeper spirit dive, which would be very interesting. Now, as for the call to be arcane, such as, like, I know, like, they had stated in the story that you do need to be arcane to affect devils, but I don't know if Yuno necessarily needs this. I mean, if Yuno becomes arcane, or I should say it this way, I do believe that Yuno will become Arcane just because he mirrors Asta in a lot of ways. Like him and Asta typically are in the same category a lot of times, if just on opposite sides. So I feel like just how the story typically goes, he will be, but I don't necessarily think he needs to be effective. He just won't be able to kill them, but he'll be able to fight with them. But with Yuno's Sword of Zephyr, he can kind of always create a arcane tool as long as he's fighting against them. So he might not necessarily need to be arcane himself, but just have, like, say, an arcane spell to deal with like a devil. Now definitely Tabata has a lot of different avenues that he could go down for Yuno in this upcoming arc. It just kind of concerns me a little bit just because a lot of times it feels like Tabata doesn't really know what he wants to do with Yuno. Like I said before, Asta mirrors himself, and even in different interviews Tabata has based various characters off of himself or people he knows, or even characters or themes in his past like series, like Hungry Joker, or when I said, you know, stories he likes, there's characters based off of characters in Berserk and in Yu Yu Hakusho and so on and so forth. But when I look at Yuno, he doesn't really remind me of any characters in the series that Tabata likes, and he's never really talked about how he relates him to a character. So I really do kind of feel like Yuno is more of a original idea for Black Clover. Like, not, of course all of Black Clover is an original idea for himself, but it feels like Yuno is definitely like a more like unjourneyed area for Tabata. So sometimes it feels like he doesn't know where he wants to go with him. So I do feel like this is a really important time for him to make him stronger and give him some decent development. Now let me know down below what you guys think Yuno's training is going to be. Let me know what you guys think the more likely one out of the ones I said, or if you guys have a totally different idea, I would love to see what you guys come up with. As for me, I definitely think the elf thing is the most likely and what I would like to see the most, but I'm definitely extremely open to any kind of different idea that Tabata could bring to the table. That being said, make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel for more future content. I really do appreciate all the support. Like I'm going to start saying a lot recently, we're really close to 1,000, so I want to get there soon. But I have nothing else to say, so I will catch you guys in my next video.